Happy Monday. Hope you had a very, very nice weekend. You know, before we do our bits and pieces about the day and the news and topics and whatnot, we have a look at the dates. I happened to glance at yesterday, and I thought, well, we weren't here yesterday. Well, we were here. we didn't post a court of public opinion yesterday. We don't on the weekend. We do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But yesterday, D. Hyde patented the fountain pen. That's a good one. 1830. I thought Waterman patented was the first. Maybe that was the first practical fountain pen. Anyway, I like fountain pens for some reason. 1310 was an interesting day. Yesterday, shoes were made for the first time for both left and right feet. So, Pete, before yesterday, back in 1310, you just got a pair of shoes, and they no left and right. I don't know how that would work.
Well, uncomfortably, I would have thought.
Uncomfortably. But I wouldn't have thought back in 1310 there would have been a lot of comfort around in any case.
No.
But today, May 22, the transporting of British convicts to the New South Wales colony is abolished. 1840 was the year. The Wright brothers are granted a patent for their flying machine, having applied for one 3 years earlier. Patent number for the aeroplane is 821, just in case you check up, 821393. That was in 1906 on this day. Arthur Conan Doyle, the British author, who brought Sherlock Holmes to life twice. Born in Edinburgh, Scotland, died in 1930, born 1859. Marlo Thomas, the American actress, weds American talk show host Phil Donahue, who was Mike Douglas maybe was the first one. Not Kirk Douglas's son, different Mike Douglas, did a daytime talk show in America. And then along came Phil Donahue, which gave birth really to all of those sort of daytime, midday shows that were around for a long, long time, and very successfully too. They could come back. There wouldn't be any problem bringing those back. There's probably still an audience for that sort of thing. Sir Laurence Olivier, English actor. He died in 1989. He was born in 1907. Dr. Washington Sheffield invents the toothpaste tube on this day in 1892. How people used and contained and stored toothpaste before that, God knows. A View to Kill, the 14th James Bond film with Roger Moore, 1985, premieres in San Francisco. Australian courts find Archbishop of Adelaide, the Archbishop Philip Wilson, guilty of covering up sexual abuse in the 70s, the most senior Catholic priest to be convicted. 2018 was the year. Victor Hugo, French author, Hunchback of Notre Dame, Les Miserables, dies at 83, 1885 the year. The first modern sighting of the Loch Ness Monster. And who spotted the Loch Ness Monster? Adele and John Mackay. Something that resembled a whale, they said. 1933. The beginning of a legend. Actress and former fitness guru Jane Fonda, 63, divorces CNN founder Mr. Ted Turner. He was 62. Due to irrevocably broken marriage. What do they usually say? We've both been through it a few times.
Irreconcilable differences.
Irreconcilable differences. Who would have thought? Oh dear. Johnny Carson's final appearance as host of The Tonight Show in 1992. Naomi Campbell, English model and actress, 1970. She was born in London. And Margaret Rutherford, wonderful actress. Oh yes, Miss Marple and so many other detective stories. Margaret Rutherford, 1972. She dies at the age of 80. The oldest man to drive in the Grand Prix, aged 55, finishes 6th in 1955. John Derek, the American actor, director, photographer. Who was he married to? Bo Derek. Bo Derek, yeah. 1998. He dies at 71 on this day. President Nixon confesses he had a role in Watergate. That was in 1973. Robert Zimmerman.
Bobby Dylan.
Bobby Dylan, exactly. Bobby Dylan. Robert Zimmerman is bar mitzvahed, if that's the correct expression. He was bar mitzvahed on this day in 1954. And the first US ballistic missile is fired in 1947. Some of the things for which we remember the day. You may have a completely different list. I'll bet you do. Much discussion about how much trouble this voice to Parliament will be or won't be, by that I mean with cases being brought to the High Court as a consequence of the voice to Parliament. The likes of Fred Chaney on the Liberal side of politics, one-time Aboriginal Affairs Minister, and there were several others too, but he was most notable. A lot of these people, experts, I say in inverted commas, jumping in with their advice and their opinions, none of whom can be held to what they predict. But, you know, make no mistake, this is the most dangerous watershed moment this country has faced in years. It has the potential to do almost anything. I believe that. I've heard people say that they were worried about Mabo and the Wick land rights cases. Well, we all should have been. Those cases went for years and years and cost millions and millions of dollars. They were divisive, and many people would say just, and worth the money that was spent. But it was one hell of a lawyer's picnic. And while there was in the popular media discussion about some quite hysterical discussion about people losing their backyards to Aboriginal land rights claims, the truth is, ladies and gentlemen, the truth is that the High Court decision, that High Court decision, resulted in the fact that Aboriginals in Australia own or have legal title to 51.3% of the land mass of Australia, to which many would say, good on them, absolutely just. But did you know that? That you, being white, and no other reason, you being white, or me, Pete being white, we don't own anything that we don't go out and buy. This 51.3% of the land mass of Australia was at no cost to them other than the money we paid to argue their legal case. They didn't buy the land, and we funded their legal case to claim it. What a sweet deal. I mean, you mightn't care about this one iota. I don't think a lot of Aboriginals even know about this. The left-wing lawyers do. Oh, they are the ones we had to pay. And without a shot being fired, the Aboriginals now own 51.3% of the country. I'm not saying that that's good. I'm not saying that that's bad. But when you're having young people unable to buy a house or scrape up a deposit or even money to cover a rental, I think it's quite extraordinary that 500,000 people should be so advantaged compared to the majority. just simply on the basis of the colour of their skin, which in my book is racism. It isn't just, it isn't fair, it isn't equitable, it isn't even reasonable. Yet, they or their lawyers clearly today want more. More, this time, from the democratic process, in which Aboriginals, of course, already have equal participation. One vote, one value. They want a separate voice to Parliament and the executive. And Aboriginals should remember that the entire wealth of this country is generated by less than 50% of the landmass, which provides everything that they and we rely on. Wonder what we could do with the whole kit and caboodle if we all got together and put our collective shoulders to the wheel. People can demand sorry if they're black, but no one says thank you to anybody. People who have gone a long way to provide everything we enjoy. They would probably be regarded as awful colonists. Yeah, funny old world, isn't it? Change the subject altogether. Pete, did you look at the Eurovision Song Festival?
No, I didn't. No.
I saw bits of it. No, I don't understand the Eurovision Song Festival. It's a total mystery to me. Australia competing in the Eurovision Song Festival. We're not part of Europe. But that's only part of the story. The music isn't really, as Pete says, it's not really music. The show is about fireworks and noise. A noisy spectacle. Maybe we're just getting old, Pete.
Yeah.
But I think that music has a melody.
Yes.
Like the stuff that Pete records and the Beatles and Gordon Lightfoot and Chris Christopherson and Buddy Holly, oh dear, Dolly Parton. I must never forget Dolly Parton. I remember John Laws used to have a radio show when I was a kid. I used to rush home and listen to it. On 2GB it was called That's Music. And I even remember the theme song that he had, which was a thing called Walking Behind Miss Lucy. The things you remember, the things that leave an indelible mark on your memory. That's music, and that was music. I've got no idea what the stuff is today. The only songs I can remember with regard to the Eurovision Song Festival would be Sandy Shaw's Puppet on a String, which won on one occasion, and there was ABBA and Waterloo. Can't remember anything else, but it is a multi-billion-dollar extravaganza with 2 or 3 billion people around the world watching it every year. It's amazing. Sort of like the musical Olympic Games or something. Anyway, it was supposed to be held in Ukraine, who maybe just be thinking at the moment that they dodged a bullet. Well, they've been doing a bit of that lately. I was listening to what would you call it, a puff piece, I suppose, on the ABC about Russia. And I thought to myself, as they were doing this story, why there was no criticism of them as the USSR at the time, when they went out and they colonised or overran or annexed country after country after country, endless small defenceless countries. Never a word about colonisation from the UN, then or now. Every other nation was told to divest itself of its colonies, or else. Everyone did. The USSR was never even asked. Why? Why? I heard, this is interesting, I heard on the BBC, they were doing an interview with the head of the South African Foreign Affairs Department. speaking of Russia, they were talking about Vladimir Putin's upcoming visit to South Africa. You see, as a convicted war criminal, the International Criminal Court has convicted him, as a convicted war criminal, he can be arrested the moment he sets foot on South African, or, for that matter, any soil outside of Russia. Now, the answer that the interviewer got from this official was very, very vague. It wasn't even diplomatic speak. It wasn't a yes or a no. The guy was squirming. That was one of the questions for which he was not prepared. So if the South African regime does not arrest Putin the moment he steps off the plane, then there should be consequences for South Africa. But that relationship between the African Congress at the time of the apartheid struggles, the African Congress was very close to Russia, or more correctly to the USSR. There's history in there. And speaking of Russia, they're hopping mad that the Brits have given Ukraine the latest state of the war long-range missiles. I'll bet they are. With great accuracy, they can travel 300 kilometres. But what the Ukraine people want, really, is a few F-16s. And in the meantime, the bloody war drags on. Although I do hear there are people gathering, trying to form some sort of committee to go and talk around the table about a way of ending it. And speaking of war, Jeff Kennett was on 3AW. Heard him the other day. He's still very good, you know, Jeff Kennett. He was calling for a return to national service. And I agree. I agree, absolutely. There are 30 governments around the world who have national service, quite happily and successfully. But probably no Australian government has the courage or the political capital to do it. We are vulnerable. We have allowed ourselves to become a soft nation, which probably makes us a bigger and bigger target for more disciplined and better trained countries or regimes, and there are enough of those around. Think about it. Think about it. Drugs, crime, lack of respect for authority, a crazy sense of entitlement. None of the John Kennedy ask not what you can do for your country, well, it was the other way around. Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. It's a great line. It doesn't get used often enough. Young people, and I'm not saying only young people, but people who think the world owes them a living. I have my rights brigade, you know. The world is a tough, competitive place. And we must not allow ourselves to become ripe for the picking. And if people don't like the idea of military service, or the word national service, why not service to the nation? Which could be doing 1,000 different, useful, productive, character-building things. Now, Labor hates the idea of national service and conscription and all of that. That's deep in their DNA. But one of the 30 countries that I mentioned that do have national service, one country insists upon compulsory national service is Singapore. Little old Singapore. Now, I don't think anyone's going to invade Singapore, for a while anyway. But they don't do it, really, for that reason. They do it for the kids, the girls and the boys. They do it to give them discipline, purpose and respect. You see, there, they've got a system which they've had forever, and that is if you come out of school, and if you've got a job, you do 3 months national service. If you don't have a job, you do 3 years. national service. So consequently, everyone comes out of school with a job. I think it's actually you come out of school with a job or you go to university, but the university only delays your national service. Reward and incentive, I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen, wonderful inducements to build a better country. I would call it national win-win, because I think out of national service, particularly the mentality that accompanies it, everybody does win. And I'll leave you with one more, just a thought about electric cars. I read a couple of, well, I suppose you'd call them critiques or analysts having a look at electric cars, and I was taken by their honesty. A couple of fun facts I learned. Because of the amount of carbon used in their production, carbon-intensive production, it takes about 10 years of no emissions for them to get ahead, for the car to get ahead, to be in the black, in terms of carbon deposits, you understand, to be carbon neutral. By which time, of course, you probably have to go and buy a new battery. So you're back at the carbon-intensive beginning. And during its life, you will be plugging into the grid, where the electricity is still mostly or partly produced by the burning of coal. So in effect, you are transferring the smoke from the back of your car to the power station chimney. The net result, you have achieved absolutely nothing. Nothing. And you've wasted a lot of money in the process. You can understand, not being a fan of electric cars, why that story, why that article took my fancy.
Can I add that video on here? It's the perfect place. The one I talked about?
Yeah. Yep.
Very fun. It's very interesting.
No, that'll work well. Thanks, Pete. See you tomorrow. I'm Jeremy Cordo. Believe in yourself. Goodbye for now.
Now, there's a big problem. Tesla's an electric car, right?
Yeah.
Fully electric.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand what the gas is for then.
Well, because if you're fully out, you gotta
charge it? Okay,
juice it up.
Show me what you mean. Let's pop. Yeah. So, where's the gas going to go? Show me.
So basically, it goes in here. This is the then that plugs into here, and that plugs into there, and then you're good to go. It's a weird system.
Oh my gosh, is that a gasoline generator?
It is. Yeah. That's how you get the electricity to drive. You got a Honda-powered Tesla.
You're going, bro. You could have gotten a Honda, and you could have just saved all of this, and you'd be done.
Well,
You're going
to. Needed gas. I tried to tell you.
No. This is not a. This is the weirdest. Nobody has ever run a Tesla off of gasoline like this before. All right, we'll get this thing out and let's charge it up.
No,
You're going.
Fill it up. You fill it up with gas.
Babe, he's going to charge his electric car with gasoline from a Honda.
Right. So this. I thought the battery was in it.
I still don't get it. I just know that sometimes you break down and cars just run out of gas, and it's a long road.
Okay. Here. I can't believe I actually helped a Tesla charge itself with gasoline. This is the. So how long you need to charge it up? You good? Like we'll leave you here with the gas, and feel free, have it.
Yeah, I think maybe like 5 minutes, and then I can make it to a gas station.
Make it to. Stop! Go to a charger! What are you?